Good morning, Luke. At least I was with Victor some few minutes ago.
Good morning, Coach. Good morning, Victor. My apologies for joining late with a small Wi-Fi outage, but it's sorted now.
Okay, and how's the family and how are running?
It's raining. I think maybe that's the reason why that intermittence happened. But for me, when it rains, I'm happy because it gets cooler.
Yeah, sure.
And the family is fine. How's Lusaka and the family?
The family is okay. Lusaka is hot. We haven't had rains for some good weeks now. I don't know with the Harare connection if you had rains or we're in the same family or we're in the same region or belt as brothers.
No, we haven't had rains. I think we haven't had rains for a week, but it's not as hot as you described it.
Yeah,
I think it's inside the house. Like now, I'm wearing a sweater because it's cold.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so we continue. I don't know if you have, I know Victor has actually been acknowledged. I sent a question on the group accounts just for you to do some practicing or a bit of practicing. It's a bit detailed than the questions that you have been interacting with. Yeah, which maybe tomorrow we can still look at it once you are done. Or after I've looked at it and maybe I've submitted, we can review and look at it deeply. Advanced financial reporting. Hello?
You sent it last night?
No, I sent it today in the morning.
Oh, okay. All right. I think I'll see it.
So advanced financial reporting, like any other course, it requires you to do a lot of practicing so that most of these processes that we'll be looking at, they become second to, or they become part of your processing. Yeah, is it second to nature or something like that? So now we'll be looking at other issues. The first, what we have looked at so far, we're actually basing it on an assumption that was cash basis. The fair value consideration was cash and instant cash. But then we'll have to look at other issues that that are part of the realities in acquiring shares in a different company. So we'll look at the share for exchange. Let me start from here, sorry. Okay, so there are other considerations that a parent may acquire controlling interest in subsidiary in different functions. One of them would be one share for share exchange. And this is very common where, okay, I'll give an example of Zambia, particularly Lusaka. There is a Uber type of company called Ulendo here. It was started by two ambitious Zambians. And this Ulendo has grown leaps and bounds. But then now, for the first time, they are facing a major threat. There is a company called Yango, I don't know if you have heard of it, that has penetrated or is now in Zambia. Yango is owned by a Russian billionaire. They have market capitalization of about $6 billion. When I was checking on their financials, in 2021, they generated revenue of about $1.4 billion. But what was so interesting in the financials that their Ebitda margin, the Ebitda margin is around 6%. It is very low. So as I kept on researching what these companies, how they model their businesses, it came out clearly that the way they model their business is based on pricing. The pricing is very low. In Ivory Coast, drivers have complained heavily because they charge out rates to the drivers. What they give to the drivers is much low, but the customers are enjoying because even the pricing for the customers is extremely low. So when these guys came into Zambia just about 1 month ago, I don't think they even I don't think they've been here for more than a month. Their charge out rates are extremely low. So they've brought in a bit of some shivers in the company of Ulendo. So what does Ulendo do, which I think is also a very big mistake? They decide to have what they are calling as the discount promo codes. So I'm a Ulendo customer. So if I want to go somewhere, if I want a discount, then I need to enter a promo code, which I believe, I'm not a great supporter of promo codes for marketing purposes because they are a sheer waste of time. It's even better you come up with discount rates which you socialize and you don't come up with the promo codes. But then the question is, for how long are they going to endure? Because Yandex has the resources to throw and to play this game. They can play it as long as it lasts. So my suggestion was, if I was their financial advisor or business advisor, I would advise Ulendo to offer acquisition by Yango. But in there, they can bring in a share option, which is basically share for share exchange. So that whatever shares that Yango buys from them, then there can be a ratio where Yango issues some of the shares, maybe 1 out of 10 shares is issued to Ulendo, so that they have a component of, they have a stake in that particular company. My second advice to them was to list their company on Lusaka Stock Exchange. Unfortunately, I searched on Google to see if I could find their financial statements. Team, and this is what I was observed with most of Zambian companies. I don't know Zimbabwe and Botswana. It seems financial statements are a very sacred thing that you cannot find them. You cannot find any data on most of these companies that are being managed in here.
I think it's the same even at this side, but there is a drive. I think even to the level of SMEs, pushing them to make sure that they also do think proper and they also get audited and also release financials, because the government here is trying to support SMEs. So obviously it goes without saying that they would want to see you doing the right things up to your financial reporting. So, but you're right. Even for them just to give you whatever they have, just maybe just basic books of accounts. It's like you're opening a top secret.
Yes, it's like a shrine, you know.
Oh, yeah, top secret folder. Yeah.
But I guess Zimbabwe, they have made a bit of some headways, Victor, isn't it? Because even their stock exchange, I think it's a bit, I don't know if it's stable or what, it was just something that I've been reading at a distance. Are Zimbabwean companies publicizing their financials? Where if I'm looking for one company in Zimbabwe and I just do my Google, I find the financial statements.
The listed one because they are regulated. There's no, you will find them for the
yeah,
listed
but the listed ones,
But-
Victor, like in Zambia, our market's so small. I think we have listed companies that they are under 26. They could have, maybe to be precise, maybe about 22. Then what about the rest?
But the rest, even in Zimbabwe, it's a challenge. You know, the main challenges, especially in Zimbabwe now, the Ministry of Finance that we have is taxing companies and individuals heavily. So especially, I think Zimbabwe is supported by informal sector. People are not producing financial statements. I work for an accounting firm. I do accounting and tax for them. Even you, the accountant, some of them, they don't want you to know the figures.
Yes.
But I don't know how you're going to do the work.
You have to use the bank statement. And
Exactly.
And this is what happens.
So it's everywhere.
That's an untapped market there, Victor, for you.
Yeah.
To go to the informal sector, but it comes with, I think, with a lot of education, because remember, most of them are owner managed. So
yes.
There is a dipping from the left and right pocket. So that's why they are a bit reluctant to give you information.
Yeah, but then now it comes to what I'm explaining here. If they are not careful, they will all die, because you see, there's this edge by companies from these developed countries or individuals trying to invest in Africa. So they will come in as Uber, they will come in as what, but they will not end there. They are shifting most of their resources into Africa for investments. Our own companies, as much as we are so patriotic that they should continue in existence, it will be very difficult to support them, because one, we don't even know what they do. Because if they are publicizing these financials, they get listed on a stock exchange, like I was advising Orlando. Then you have an attachment to their existence. But for now, we don't know. We don't even know their books. We don't know how they are performing. And they've kept these things in secrets. Yet now that we have Yango coming in, a company with $6 billion in market capitalization, a company that generates over $1.4 billion on an annual basis, a company that deliberately, based on their business model, their pricing is extremely low, because obviously they want to push out the locals. How do you support
maybe I think you're right, because even the intention might not be to push out the locals, but maybe they did the same thing that you did, Googled to look for a company that is already in existence, which they can do an acquisition for, but they couldn't find Orlando. So they thought, okay, let's go in. There's no company. But if Orlando were publishing their or putting their results or their financial results on Google, then maybe they could have been acquired by this company without any problems. So it's like the mantra, we are open for business, but when asking investors to come, then investors, when they come thinking that there's no company offering that service because they can't find anything on Google, then people start crying. Yeah, you're right. That we might be as patriotic as we want to be, but if you had not done the right thing, then the person will come in thinking there's no one in that space here.
And they shouldn't be blamed.
Even the authorities, they might not know, like Victor, you were saying, the Minister of Finance, maybe the ministry might not even know that there are people that are doing such and such, because they are not paying any tax, or they are avoiding tax, and they are just existing under the radar.
He knows it. That's why he introduced, like in Zimbabwe, we now have withholding tax. Is from 10%, it's now 30%. That's withholding tax of contracts.
30% withholding tax
of contracts.
Okay.
Yes, of contracts which does not have tax clearance. It's 30%, and then that's why he also introduced the IMT tax, the transaction tax here. because he knows that transactions are going through the bank system, but all these guys, they are not paying tax. They are not even registered for tax. You know, it's bad to the fact that sometimes companies, when they approach banks, they want to be capitalized. Let's say they want loan. The banks will say, give us financial statements. They come to us. You go to their company, you can't even find any document.
Yes, yes. Actually, that is very typical. You know what most of these companies do, especially if there's a tender, most of these small companies, what they do, when there's a tender, and that tender obviously has been advertised on the news in the newspapers, and they are requesting for audited financial statements, that is when they start rushing to auditing firms.
Yes.
But obviously, they'll go to those auditing firms, not disclosing anything other than the bank statement. Then you have to start now coming up with a trial balance based on the bank statement and working reverse.
That's it.
So maybe what should be advocated now is that all SMEs must be able to publicize their financials. In that way, yes, it also grows the industry for these, for us who are in the financial services or accountants, those that are in auditing firms, it actually grows their revenue base. But what it does as well is that there's a bit of, instead of having a lot of privacy on financials now can be scrutinized by the public. And maybe you even go further and say, in the similar way that stock exchange do it, where they list those listed companies, they are mandated to publicize the financials. I think we should reach at that stage. And that is the only way we can start collecting this data. Because like Luke is saying, had Yango known about Ulendo and how much they make and their projections, because what they do, these companies, when they're coming into a company, what these multinational companies do when they're getting into a new market, they check the financials of their competitors. Then they do a private equity research where they do the valuations for that particular company. So before they go in there, because some companies don't want to go into green or virgin markets, they want to acquire. I'll give an example of Engine. Engine, their business model is to acquire filling stations. So they acquire those filling stations, they convert them as Engine, then they bring in Hungry Lion. Hungry Lion comes in and they also have a component. And that is their business model. They don't want to go into a virgin market. So imagine Yango comes in, does the evaluation for Ulendo, because these financials, they are in public domain. So they find that, oh, Ulendo, I think it's about maybe $50 million worth. Looking at the number of customers they have and all these other things that you talk about, customer loyalty and the like, goodwill and all these other things. Then they go to Ulendo. Ulendo, we are offering you to acquire your company at $30 million or $50 million. Then Ulendo says, okay, it's good, because Israel is surviving on startups, guys. And the startups in Israel, they are built with the sole purpose of selling them to these big Google and what big tech companies. And that is how they are managing their economy. So there is no problem for you to start a business. Then this particular multinational company comes in, acquires it, you have the money. But before you say, okay, yes, we are selling it at $50 million. One, we will do this. One, we'll get some cash. A cash of so much. Maybe $1 per share. Secondly, we'll go ahead and say, from those shares that you have acquired, if say you have acquired 100% of the shares in Ulendo, out of 10 shares that you have acquired, you give us 2. That is where now this concept of share exchange comes in. So that we have significant influence on your board. We may not have the control, but you have significant influence on your board. But now the way it is, because these people, they are not listed on the stock exchange, we don't even know how much they make. We don't even know whether they even produce financial statements or they use bank statements to produce financial statements. So we don't know. So then what it means is that with these things they're doing, trying to come up with promo codes, discounts, whatever, trust me, in the next 6 months, they will be gone. And at the time that they go back to Yango, they go to Yango to offer Yango to buy them, to acquire them, the value of their shares will be so useless because Yango would have grown organically, which maybe they didn't want to grow organically. They wanted to grow through acquisition, but there was no data on the ground giving them a basis to acquire that company. So we continue. So we are saying the share for share exchange, which we are going to demonstrate how it is computed here. There's also deferred cash consideration. Deferred cash considerations where you are saying, okay, we are not going to give you the money today. You come up with a date, a future date when cash will be provided to the buyer. But then what does it call when cash will be provided in the future? Then it means that if you are trying to compute the cost of investment today, what should come into your mind as a finance person is that you have to discount it today. So you're looking at future cash flows, discounted to what? To today, which now becomes present value or future cash flows. That is why this deferred cash consideration will come in. Then we have the contingency consideration. So I'm saying it is the obligation of the buyer to transfer additional assets or equity interest to the seller of the business. So you're just transferring part of the assets or equity interest to the seller of the business. It's usually cash or shares. In the exam, you may be faced with the 3 scenarios where this company acquires a business, but there's a form of deferred cash consideration in it. Maybe the first part, there's some cash that is given just outright cash. There's a segment on deferred cash consideration. There's share for exchange and possibly contingency consideration. So we can then now look at the share for share exchange and how it works. The first thing is you have to calculate the number of subsidiary shares acquired. So we calculate, okay, the shares that have been acquired by the subsidiary are these. So let me do this. Let's say, look as a company acquired 75% of the shares in Ebitda. So the total shares, so I'll write like this, the total shares is, let's say, 50,000. So the first thing that we need to know to tick this box is the number of subsidiary shares that were acquired. So to be 75% times 50, how many shares were acquired? You have a calculator there.
$37,500.
So it's 37,500.
Yes.
So that's the first stage. Then now, the subsidiary says, this deal, yes, you have bought these shares, but what we want from you as a parent company, exchange, and this is what now a subsidiary company is negotiating, which Ulendo should have negotiated with Yandix or Yango, that out of these shares that you have bought, at least give us one share of the 5 shares you have bought at, maybe for argument's sake, at 2 kwacha. So it means, if we are doing the computations, it means to be 1/5 times 37,500 shares. Which is how much? How much? 37,000 divided by 5.
7,500.
7,500.
So you have 7,500. So within 7,500, then now we are told that it is valued at 2 kwacha.
Yeah, coach, you are now breaking.
Oh, okay. Let me use my. Let me just pause. Am I clear now?
Yeah, loud and clear now.
Okay, thank you. I've changed the source, my internet source. So then, oh, I'll just get a pen. Okay. So these are the 7,500 shares, but now they are valued at 2 kwacha. So then what it means is that it's going to be 15,000 kwacha. So calculate the number of P shares issued. So P has issued 7,500. So P has issued 7,500 shares. Then the value of the P shares are 2 kwacha, which gives us 15,000 kwacha. This is what is there. Then now you have to record the journal. So what is going to happen is that obviously you debit investment or cost of investment. Your debit cost of investment. Then you have the share capital, which will be credited. Which obviously will be credited. So that is how the share for share exchange works. But let's look at a question so that we do it together here. Okay, so we have a question and it reads, Monde acquired 80% of the 20 million ordinary share capital or shares of Sangwa by offering a share exchange of 1 for every 4 shares acquired. The fair value of Monde's shares is 4 kwacha per share. Calculate the cost for the acquisition and prepare the journal entry to record the share issue. So we go to Excel. Okay, so we go to share to Excel. Are you able to see my Excel here?
Yes, we can see it.
You can see.
Okay. So what is the story? The story, first one is about the 80%. How many shares did they have? They had 20 million shares.
20 million.
Just do this. The par value of these shares is 1/4.
Exchange of 1 million of every 4.
Then the fair value is 4/4. Then we are actually told on the share exchange, is 1 for every 4 shares acquired. Then Monday is selling these shares at a value of, let's take them at a value of 4/4. Okay. So what do we do here now? We have, these are the number of shares. So the first stage we want to do is to know the number of shares acquired. They calculate the number of subsidiary shares acquired. So what was acquired is 80% of the 20,000. These are the shares that were acquired. The second stage is calculate the number of P shares issued. So the number of P shares issued is 1/4 times the 16,000 shares. Which is 4 million shares. Then what is the other stage? Is value the P shares issued. So we have to value the shares that were issued. So value the issued shares. So you do like this, times the value of the shares. We value them. Sorry. So we value these shares, which gives us 16 million kwacha. So we then now go to the last part, which is record the journal. So on the journal, we'll actually debit. My internet is not stable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're here, I think you heard, we looked at this part on the valuing the issued shares, did we?
Yeah, that you said 4,000 by the value,
yes.
16.
So now we go to the last stage where we have to do the journal. As an accountant, you need to be very familiar with the journal entry. So the JVs, the so-called JVs. So here now we'll have to debit investment. This is what goes now into your goodwill computations. So I have to debit investments. There's 16 million. That is done. Then we'll have to credit share capital. So credit in share capital will be this 4,000 issued times at par value, which will be that. Then we now also have to credit the share premium, which is the balance. Share premium. Which is the balance, which is the difference between the 16, between this minus that. Or you can say it is the fair value minus the par value times the issued share capital, which is the 12. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we go back to our presentation. So meaning that when you are looking at share exchange or share for share exchange, you should always have the 4 stages. The first stage is you want to know how many shares were acquired. The second stage, you want to know how many shares did the parent company issue, and what was the value of those shares, and what is the double entry. That's it. So I'll look for questions with the share for share exchange, where there's a component of share for share exchange, so that I can send those questions. Then if at all we'll meet tomorrow, we can even look at them. Because it's all about practicing.
The last slide, I just want to take a screenshot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, done.
Okay.
Are you going to send the presentation, or you send it in the video?
The presentation, I sent it a long time ago. You've forgotten.
Really?
Yeah, this presentation was sent.
Oh, okay.
Did
I share with you, Victor?
No, you did not.
All right, I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
All right, it's okay.
So then now we go to deferred consideration. Here, what the acquirer is actually doing. The acquirer in this case is the parent company. Acquires the company and does not pay you cash immediately. you as a subsidiary. So you are given a future date when you'll be paid. Always, as long as it is money involved, team, and the money and the promise is that that money is going to be paid at some future date, what should come into your mind is that it should be discounted today because you want to make a decision now. Always, don't forget that. So this deferred consideration is recorded on acquisition at present value, which is just a no-brainer at all. So let's look at the practical part of it, the question. The question reads, Ponga acquired 80% of the 40 million one-quarter equity shares of Stumbeko. The 40 million, unfortunately, it gives us point something. So let's just change this. Let's just say 30 million. Okay, let's use the 40 million, but to give us some points. Let's use it as is. Ponga acquired 80% of the 40 million one-quarter equity shares of Stumbeko on 1st January 2020. The consideration was through the offer of a share exchange of 2 shares issued for every 3 shares acquired, and the cash payment of 1 kwacha per share payable on 31st December 2020. The fair value of the Ponga's equity shares was 2 kwacha at 1st January 2020. The present value of 1 kwacha received in 1 year's time is 0.91 at a rate of 10%. Calculate the cost of the investment in Stumbeko at 1st January 2020. Interesting. Get our Excel. So in this question, there are 2 things happening. There's deferred consideration, and there's also share exchange, isn't it?
Yes.
So the first thing we're going to start with is a share exchange. That one maybe what I would do, or the share exchange, I'll give you about 5 minutes. You work it out, then we'll do it together. Just that first part.
Okay.
Cross-pollination of ideas, like I've always said, is welcome. So since you are done, I'll just go back to the same thing. What was the shares? Is it 40?
It's 40 million.
40 million.
Okay, so 40 million. Then just change this. Then you confirm if that's the same amount. The acquisition is 80% at 80%.
80%.
Then the par value is 1 kwacha.
Yes.
Then the fair value
should be 2 kwacha.
2 kwacha. Then the share exchange.
2 for every 3.
2 for every 3.
So it's 2 for every 3. So the value of the shares, what have you gotten? How much have you gotten? Based on the issued, Did you get 21,333,333?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Then the value for the shares, the shares, the value is what?
That should
two
be
kwacha?
2 there.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
2.
Yes, 2.
Yeah, we got that as well.
So you debit investment at 42.
Yes.
And you have share premium of this, credit share capital, then share premium of that, because 2 is 1. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That is the first part. So the second part now is on the deferred consideration. So we are told that what's the value of these shares? It's 1 kwacha, isn't it? What to be paid?
Present value is 1 kwacha received in 1 year time.
Okay. So second part, we are saying the present value is 1 kwacha. The discount factor is 10%, which obviously gives us 0.91. So we need to find these shares that will be on cash basis. Which is basically deferred cash. So what will be deferred is that 1 kwacha times the number of shares that were issued, which is that. But then we have to discount this. This is what we expect to get at the end of the year, isn't it? But then we need to find the present value of this future cash, which will be that times 0.91, which gives us this. I don't know if you got that number.
No, we hadn't got
the last part.
Okay, you had not yet gone there. Yeah. Okay. So then now,
did we know how to go there?
I for one thought I was going to use the 42.
So
me too. I thought I was going to use the 42.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
No, because the 42 is that is a different deal. That is for the share exchange. These guys, they came two packets. The deal was actually looking at two concepts.
Options.
Yeah, 2 options.
Okay.
They didn't just go for share exchange. They also went for the cash, for the deferred cash.
Okay.
So meaning that the total consideration will be this PV future cash flow plus the 42. So this is what you're going to have in your computations for goodwill. That will be the total consideration.
So what did you do there? It's the number of shares that they were considered was 21.
Yes, so 21, which were issued.
21, those are the ones we should, and then we say it par value. Then we get 21,333. That's our cash deferred.
Yes.
And then we use our discounting factor for future cash.
Yes. We are discounting today so that we make a decision.
Yeah, okay. All right. All right.
Okay, so let's change this question. Assume that the shares was 30,000 shares. So do your computations and give me the thing. I'll give you about 5 minutes.
30,000.
Yeah, 30 million, sorry. Assume it's 30 million. So I'll see you in the next 5 minutes. I guess we got this. Let me do this. Since it's a small model now, we can just change. Since we can change.
Yeah, breaking again, Coach.
Yeah, are you able to hear me now? Okay, let me change.
You are breaking, Coach.
Okay, let me just change the, which one am I using?
You are breaking. Yeah, the network is not stable.
It's two breaking, Coach.
Are you able now?
Yes, now
Yes,
we can
we
hear
can.
you.
Okay, it's rough. So what I'm saying is we can then now change and you check on the numbers whether this makes sense since we have a small model that we've created.
Yeah.
How much did you get?
Yeah, we got the same number.
Those same figures, yeah.
Some figures, right?
Yes.
So 80% of the shares, how much are we getting? 80% is 24,000 shares.
Yes.
Then the issued shares is 16,000. So we have the value of shares, which is
32.
Which is 32. So this 32 basically is the cost of investment for the first component. Then from there now we have, okay, the double entry. So here actually there's an error, guys. The cash deferred, I think we picked this one. It's not the issue, it's the acquired shares, because from the acquired shares that they were, because there were two deals here. The first deal was on the share exchange. This is where we have these issued shares. The second deal was from the acquired shares, we would need to multiply by, we need to find from the acquired shares, they will be valued at 1 kwacha per share, which shall be paid at the end of the first year. At the end of the first year. So this one should have come here. Sorry for confusing you. So meaning that the first one that we did at 40,000, these are the values that we should have had.
Okay.
Because from the cash, we made the mistake from the cash, because whatever shares, we are not looking at the issued shares. This issued shares is just a deal. It's part of
for the share exchange.
Yeah, for the share exchange.
Okay.
But we are looking at deal. Yes, it's the first deal. But you are looking at the acquired shares.
Okay.
I hope that has been corrected. So for what you have done, it means that you should have added 30,000, which obviously the first one is 32,000. Then the second one, we're actually saying 1 kwacha times what was acquired. Then we value it. Then it gives us 53,840. Is it okay? Have you understood?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, we'll just run one slide. So on the deferred consideration, we are saying it needs to be unowned to its final value and done so using the interest rate originally applied to discount back. Basically, it's the same thing that we are talking about, to discount back the original entry and record that as follows. So that interest rate that you're going to use, obviously, you will need to debit the finance cost and credit the deferred consideration liability that is there. Just a part of the theory.
Okay.
So this particular adjustment does not impact the fair value of consideration. So in terms of the first part of our group accounts, we are done. We will now start getting into the details, the D structure, the V structure, and all that. Or the D structure and the one that is vertical, which is basically the V structure.
Okay.
So we are still there, but the most important thing first is to, So the first thing is to match the group accounts. That became a thing up to the 5th or 6th steps. This is what we are trying to do. They now go into some nitty-gritties, but because you understand the concept, you will not have problems going forward.
Okay.
So before you check out and we talk about any other businesses, maybe first you have to do the checking out. You are leaving this hotel. I don't know if it's a 4-star or 2-star hotel that now you need to check out and go to your homes. So maybe you can first do the checkout, then we discuss about another business.
For me, I think it's slowly coming back and getting there in terms of understanding the basics. And for me, that's the most important thing. And they are coming out clearly from the way you are holding our hand. And also the exercises that we are getting, I think will help us, like you said. As the adage says, more practice make it perfect. So I hope to sort of sharpen my understanding, for lack of a better word, through the additional exercises that we get. I think so far so good.
Thank you. Victor, you are by the reception. Can you check out?
Yeah, it's coming out good. I will get to the exercise that you have sent. I hope it's covering everything up to the deferred cash consideration that we did.
No, it's not covering up to there, but it's a bit complex.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I think if we do that and then try to apply the concepts on ourselves, yeah, it will get there. But as we are interacting, yeah, there are no challenges. It's to the point that you pick the things that are, the more we're going to practice, I think we'll get there.
Sure. So thank you so much.